shout out to Nintendo for showing their physical game percentage sales. And it seems like with the way that they're doing things, the business model is going to continue to run as usual. Unlike Sony, where they say it's 90-10 or, 80-20. Nintendo says physical games account for about 38.5% of Nintendo software sales. So that's almost like 40%. So it's like a 40-60 thing. Now, I don't know if Sony is not telling the truth or whatever the case may be, but when we look at Nintendo, this seems more accurate because digital games are essentially, convenient, and more people tend to gravitate toward the convenience. So, a 60-40 type of deal does make more sense. Now, I'm wondering if Sony is around the same number, but they just don't want to say, or they're really telling the truth. I don't, believe any of these companies when it comes to numbers. Honestly, I don't care if they're good or bad. Even with Nintendo, I kind of like look at it side eye, but this is a little bit more understandable because when you look at Nintendo, Nintendo normally has a traditional loyal crowd. Everybody who loves Nintendo or played Nintendo back in the day, they have a nostalgic feel of actually going to KB Toys or going to Toys R Us or going to any other game store to pick up their game. So I can see where 40% can still do that to this day. And then it kind of coincides with what you see in the stores. Now, I know like you go to Best Buy, Target, Walmart, or whatever the case may be, there's a diminishing, supply of physical games on the Sony and Xbox side. But when it comes to Nintendo, Nintendo still has a really good base of games that are still being there, albeit they're a little bit more easier to store because they're key cartridges or whatever the case may be, but they still have those where it is really, it is really good looking on the shelf. There's something that it is a little bit refreshing when I do go to a Walmart or when I do go to a Best Buy or a Target or wherever I go and I see this. It does bring back a little bit of nostalgia. And I know a lot of people think that's a bad word nowadays, but you got to understand that a lot of people play games because of nostalgia. I don't care if it's a nostalgia from a year ago or 20 years ago. You play games because of nostalgia. What games are you playing right now? I'm almost certain it's not a new IP. It's an older IP that has that significant value of nostalgia, but I don't want to go on the tangent. Nevertheless, when I look at this article, shout out to news.instantgaming.com. The link will be down in the description. And it says right here, physical games account 38.5% of Nintendo software sales. The Japanese manufacturer states that physical games still count for 38.5% of its software sales. Although the share is gradually declining, it remains significant enough to be important for Nintendo. And for this reason, the company has no intention of halting the production of game disc. Well, they don't do game disc. Production of game disc for the time being. In its latest financial report, the company noted a 2.2 drop of this ratio, bringing the share down to 38.5. So it was at 40% at one point, compared to 61.5 of digital downloads. Now, this is the thing, right? I totally understand it, especially when you have a Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. It is extremely easy to pick up a digital game because it's right there and it's a handheld and it's more personable to you because it's like downloading an app on a phone. And with that being said, I recently just bought Splatoon Raiders yesterday and I did it digital because, like I said, the convenience factor is pretty much real. Because I could have went to Walmart and bought the game physical. I could have went to GameStop and bought it physical. But me just getting off work and I did not feel like going back out the house, I just decided to link up my PayPal account, bam, and just bought it. And within 20 minutes, the game was up and running. 20 minutes of the game up and running after a download compared to going to the store, spending almost 20 minutes back and forth going to the store and possibly picking up other items that you may not need at the store. So I do understand it. Now, I am a physical guy through and through. I love it. But I do understand where the discrepancy or this gap comes from, where it's 38 to 61 basically, or it's like I said, it's almost like 60-40, where most people will just say, hey, look, I'm laying in my bed or I'm sitting on the couch and I want to play this game. I don't want to get up. I just left, being out all day and I just don't want to go to the store and pick up a game. And it's right there. It's a couple of clicks on the Switch and bam, you're good. So, but it does, even with all of that, it does give you some type of, impression that, hey, Even 40%, that's almost half. People still like to go to the store and pick up these games, or they like to go to Amazon and get it shipped to their house, or whatever the case may be. And that's pretty impressive, because one thing that we do need to do, this is in general, this is not just talking about games, we need to get out and touch grass. We all do. I mean, I've been on my health kick for a while now, and I'm kind of frustrated myself because I'm kind of just maintaining instead of losing. But hey, it is what it is. But we all need to get out more, and we all need to do things that are really healthy for ourselves. And getting out and actually doing something like this could be some form of exercise. Even if you're just driving, it could be something, instead of just sitting in the house and we're just not being mobile and just buying games. So that's just another story for another day. But it's still impressive that the people that do this, they still have that nostalgia of going to the store and buying these games. Some of these kids, getting the kids out of the house and buying games at the store, that's still a thing. So do I feel like that this is going to diminish? It's going to continue to diminish. I do believe probably maybe around the next generation of Nintendo products, i.e. console, whether it be a Switch 3 or whatever the case may be. I think that we're going to start seeing this dip below the 20s, or into the 20s, or the high 20s, low 30s. I do see that at some point, because at some point we got to understand that these games are so convenient to pick up, and the whole thing about having physical games are diminishing. We do have to be honest with ourselves and see that. And so I do think this is really interesting that Nintendo is like one of those last strongholds that have like this traditional business model to continue to thrive, and people are still linking in and going to do this. I find that really, really cool. And it is just one thing that you just have to cherish while it's here, because I do believe within the next 5 to maybe 7 years, this may be a completely niche thing where you're probably looking at the top 5 or the top 10% actually doing doing physical games, in general. I'm talking about all across all platforms, that you may have like 5 to 10% of gamers just doing physical games still, because just the supply is not going to be there. Company's not going to support it. And it's just going to be a time where it's just going to be the convenience factor where everybody just say, hey, look, I'm going to just do this, and it's the way it is going to be. I'm already in that bandwagon. I said this on numerous videos that the PlayStation 6, if I decide to get it, I'm okay with the all digital thing, because even prior to that announcement, I already said I was going to go all digital, because I need to do an inventory of my games. I probably have about 7, I want to say between 6 to 7,000 physical games. And that's kind of ridiculous. I don't need to add no more to that. People who do that, more power to them, but I know my limit, but nevertheless, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that Nintendo is still going to thrive and continue to do what they have to do to cater to the 38.5%? Are you impressed with the 38.5% that are still going out to get physical games? Me personally, I think it's impressive that it's still going on, but it's not surprising when you think of Nintendo and the legacy and the nostalgia and the loyalty that gamers do have to this product. Nintendo, I mean, their gamers are like extremely loyal to the brand, so I'm not surprised. Nevertheless, you guys let me know what you think. I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.